So when I was thinking about what story I wanted to tell tonight, I started to write things down. And so I started writing and writing and writing and writing. And I realized that my story starts kind of here, but it happens here. I've always considered myself kind of a lucky person, which is kind of a scary thing because you always expect that luck to run out at some point, which is really weird because in some ways it does, in some ways it doesn't. Lucky thing. Gay guy going literally to Jerry Falwell's church and getting out of that. So being brought up a fundamentalist Christian, it was kind of a strange thing. We lived in Virginia, and at some point, and that's kind of part of that. That's just kind of like a strange luck thing. But the thing was, my father at one point, this was when I was 13, it was 5 months before the Christmas era, he decided that he wanted to get a different job. And so he was going to go to this nuclear power plant. He's kind of like this nuclear guy. And, and so he decides he wants to go to this place in Indiana. And so for 5 months he's gone. He goes to establish his job, someplace to live, and so forth. And, of course, at some point we're all going to go there. And, and of course this is going to sound a lot worse than it really, I guess, is now, because the time was pretty strange. So after about 5 months, we all go out there to Scottsburg, Indiana. And we decided to go to this Christmas party with my family, and we go to this. My mother had 11 siblings, or one of 11 siblings. So it's this huge Christmas party. We go to it, we come back, my parents are very close, and on Christmas night, we get back Christmas Eve, Christmas night, they decided at 3 o'clock in the morning to have a screaming fit and announce their divorce. And of course, up to this point, we had thought that we lived in kind of this perfect fundamentalist Christian family. And of course, I was in some other place anyway. But it was pretty traumatic. And so the day after Christmas, my parents had decided to go look at a house, because they were going to buy a house after they announced their divorce. And so they go and they look at this house that's in Scottsburg, Indiana. And if you think, it was this ranch house on this huge piece of property. And it was kind of like what would be really considered super chic on a Bachelor, Hugh Hefner kind of level in 1967. And this was 1980. So there was the orange shag carpet and the orange shiny gas stove in one of the kitchen, one of the areas. It was really, really super tacky. And of course, as a kid, I really didn't matter because we were kind of devastated about the whole divorce thing that they had just announced. But they're going to get a house here in Scottsburg. So they end up buying this house, and this is a really crazy situation because it's like my father had decided to kind of buy us all off. He bought us motorcycles. This house had an indoor pool. It had huge land around it. It had a kind of a lake in the front yard. It was kind of like his dream bachelor pad that he somehow used to pay off his kids and his current wife, who they were supposed to get a divorce, but they didn't do it. And this house, it was an interesting place because, it's a place where they basically spent the next 10 years tearing each other apart. Which is really kind of strange because they announced that on Christmas Day. So, in effect, totally ruining Christmas for me for pretty much the rest of my life. Because every other moment in our life that was like really high intensity was happening on Christmas. So it's like they brought it around as an anniversary present. So the thing was, is they spent, so many things. But this is the house that I graduated high school in. It's the the house where the first guy that I was really into, I really wanted to like hang out with him, and I would always like get him to the pool, and of course, swim trunks and all that. Nothing ever happened. So many different things that went on, and it was the first time that I ever witnessed the issues between my parents. It was the first time my father ever punched me in the mouth. It really got rough in this house. After I graduated high school, I had to get out of that place. I went to Indianapolis, I went to school, but I always ended up coming back to this place. I moved to Texas for a year. That was a crazy mistake. But I moved to Texas, I moved back in with my mom at the time. Because they eventually split up, because what was happening is as I was growing up, I would have one parent for a certain amount of time, and then that parent would go away, and then the other parent would come back in and live there for a little while, and that parent would go back, and then the other parent would come back in. So it was really kind of bizarre. So after I moved back from Texas, I got a job, I was really trying to work on things, and I really consider this all very lucky. I consider myself blessed in all of this. So I had friends that I was hanging out with at the time, Brian and Stephanie, and they were looking for a house. And they weren't really concerned about the house. They just wanted something simple. So I was going to a church at the time, a Presbyterian church. It was the first time I actually got involved in religion that didn't involve, you are not like us, so you're going to hell. And so that was kind of cool. There was a minister there named Ann, who had been part of all the things with my friends. It was actually some of my two best friends, their mom. And so she could see what was going on in all the things in my life and how screwed up. My junior and my senior year, I kind of didn't have any parents. So they understood this stuff. And so I was involved in this church. And so one Sunday they had decided, Brian and Stephanie, that we want to go look at a place to live. We're going to go look at some trailers. And of course, this is Southern Indiana. These are not really rich people. So I decided, okay, I'll do that. We'll do it after church on Sunday. So, I have my dress clothes. I'm thinking, I'm going to wear something nice, something fun. It's hot, it's August. I want to try and get this. And so I wear this bright green shirt. I bring this bright green shirt, a pair of shorts, and a pair of shoes and socks. And it's like, okay, let's do this. So we go down and after church, and we go look at these double-wide trailers and regular trailers. And they're kind of into it. They're really enjoying them. I want to see this one and that one. We go look around, and of course I'm thinking to myself, God, I would never want to live in those. It's like, they're okay, but I would never want to live in those. Because I think about where I live now. It's like, I've got this great house, it's this beautiful place, and this big piece of property with this indoor pool. And so we come back from looking at all these places, and we get back to Brian and Stephanie's place. They lived in the garage of Stephanie's parents' house. And they had an answering machine. This is 1990. And the lights flashing. So they listen to it. And they say, we hear this voice that I don't recognize. And they're saying, we're looking for Jared. We can't find him. And we really need him to call this number right now. And I hear in the background my mother just weeping. You recognize your parents. I recognize my mother just weeping, just crying uncontrollably. And I've got this horrible fear. And I realize I can't do it. I can't call. I can't do it. So I tell Brian, I'm like, you've got to call. You have to call.